안녕하십니까? 제17회 제주 포럼에 참석해 주신 여러분 반갑습니다. 지금부터 삶의 영역에서 시도되는 한반도 평화와 공존, 두만강 국제연합도시 건설 예시를 통해 세션을 시작하겠습니다. 본 행사는 동시통역이 제공되며 통역을 원하시는 분들께서는 자리에 놓여있는 수신기를 착용하시기 바랍니다. 한국어 채널은 1번, 영어는 2번입니다. 감사합니다. 세션의 진행을 맡아주실 좌장님을 소개해드리겠습니다. 좌장님은 김일용 사단법인 한반도 평화경제포럼 상임이사님이십니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 17th Jeju Forum. Thank you for joining us today for Peace and Coexistence on the Korean Peninsula attempted in the realm of life through the example of the Tumen River, International Joint City Construction. Simultaneous interpretation is available for this session. For service in Korean, set your device on channel 1. For English, select channel 2. Now, I would like to hand over the stage to Kim Il-young, Executive Director of Korea Peace Economy Forum, who will moderate this session. Everyone, please welcome Kim Il-young.
Hello, good morning. I'm Kim Il-young, Executive Director of Korea Peace Economy Forum. Recently, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un tried to legitimize North Korean nuclear weapon and wanted to get the official recognition in the international community as a nuclear state. And the international community has made a lot of efforts for denuclearization. But the level of peace that we experience now, is it on par with the political and diplomatic efforts the international community has made? And I think it is time for us to slightly twist the policy framework and expand it out of the political, security, and diplomatic realm. And we could probably delve into the living sphere of our lives. So what does peace and coexistence on the Korean Peninsula look like through the Tumen River International Joint City Construction? And I would like to briefly introduce you to today's speakers and discussants. And keynote speaker is Professor Lee Sang-hyun from Myeongji University. And the first speaker is he's going to talk about American cities. Project designer Lee Jin-woo from Space Group. And let us imagine the kind of city that North Korea develops. A city for treatment, medical tourism, and healing. What kind of city can we imagine North Korea to develop? So Representative Park Jong-yeon from Grid A Architecture will make the second presentation. And Korea is definitely leading the culture around the world. So for K-Culture Street, architect Choi Soo-young from Soo-young Atelier will be making the presentation. And the three speakers are all in their 30s, but this next speaker is now in the 40s, Professor Park Keun-sung from Changwon National University. He will talk about Chinese city based on the theme of Confucianism. So let us imagine the kind of city that China can develop. And since we do not have enough seats, we actually wanted to invite the discussants on the stage as well, but we have such an excellent panel of discussants. President Seok Jung-un from Korea Institute of Registered Architects has joined us as a panelist. And President Chun Woo-young from Korea Institute of Architects has joined us as well. And also the executive director of this forum. And he has been an economic expert all along the way throughout our dialogue with North Korea. Executive Director Im Gang-taek from Korea Economic Cooperation Institute has joined us as well. And also the Vice President of Korea Peace Economy Forum, Mr. Ang Kyung-hoon, and also the founder of YAP. So let us start today's forum, and we'll first hear a keynote presentation by Professor Lee Sang-hyun. He will talk about multinational city that brings about peace. Please welcome him with a big hand.
Well, thank you very much. So many people are joining us today. We were a bit worried. What if not many people joined? But thank you so much. We are joined today by people from the Architecture Institute of Korea, Korea Institute of Registered Architect, and also Korean Institute of Architect. And my presentation will be very much delivered from the perspective of architect. Well, among the ways to bring peace, there are numerous ways, and my presentation will focus on how we can induce peace on the Korean Peninsula. When we talk about peace, many scholars have already mentioned, well, mostly the political circles talk about the bargaining or the summit between North and South Korea or between DPRK and the US. Since we are the same homogeneous people, we have the same emotions, and we can definitely induce peace. However, 7 decades have gone by since the division of the Korean Peninsula, and not many progress has been made. Therefore, today's forum, we would like to talk about how to induce peace on the Korean Peninsula, how we can do that in various ways. We'll be doing that. When we talk, we say that when peace comes, economic development will follow. But in realistically speaking, it doesn't happen. On the contrary, economic prosperity happens, which entails peace, or sometimes peace can be maintained. That's the reality. We witness that. So today, I'd like to touch upon how we can bring peace from the architect perspective, and in a more specific way, other speakers will talk about that. Let me give you one example. When we talk about North Korean issue, there are two things that we always mention. If there was a Trump Tower in Pyongyang, would Trump say something like North Korean bombing? Definitely not. Trump will never do that. Second rumors that keep spreading is that, that Kaesong Industrial Complex was closed down, and everyone regrets the closure of the Kaesong Industrial Complex. And what if currently, that before the closure, the total sales of the Kaesong Industrial Complex was about 700 billion won. But what if it was like 70 trillion won? Many will strive to keep the operations of the Kaesong Industrial Complex. But how can we dare to expect 70 trillion? It's possible. And at the same time, Pangyo Valley, it produced 70 trillion won, and we could have expected the sales of 70 billion won. And the reason why I'm mentioning this too is people say so many things. I'm sorry I'm speaking so fast because there are so many things that I'd like to talk to you about. Anyway, I'm sharing two examples, and what I'm trying to say is that economic prosperity can definitely ensure peace on the peninsula, and we can explore what are the ways how we can do that. First, we, the architect, would like to talk about the most important thing, which is the common interest of each country related to the Korean Peninsula for economic prosperity. And one way is the China's Tumen River Development Plan. Well, we didn't come up with this, but Tumen River estuary has already been existing for a long time. Let's look at the first one. You know that Tumen rivers flow around China, and China has always had the development plan. And there's no way for China to go outside because there's Russia and there's the Tumen River. So they would like to build the three major foreign trade hubs, and North Korea Rajin and Sambong Special Economic Zone could work. So foreign trade ports of these three northeast provinces can play a pivotal role. And North Korea will definitely do whatever China asks for. What about South Korea? Well, South Korea, the Tumen River estuary can become the import base because we are getting natural gas from Russia. And Russia's dream is developing Far East. And they are not doing anything. There's no progress at all. And they're in a dire need of developing the Far East area. What about United States? United States, they always would like to go when something important happens. So in a very minor, trivial area called Tumen River Estuary, where countries like China, North Korea, and South Korea are gathered together, definitely United States would like to come in. The most important thing is that there's 1.2 billion people within 2-hour flight, and 25% of the global GDP exist here. That is why we need to build a city here.
요런 거 이제 조금 이게 이제 동해고 여기 두만강 하구인데 이렇게 올라가는데 여기가 중국 땅, 이렇게 중국 땅, 여기가 북한 땅, 그리고 여기가 러시아 땅입니다. 여기에다가 도시를 한번 건설해 보려고 합니다. 도시 마스터 플랜은 이렇습니다. 이렇게 이제
This is the master plan for the city, and this is the industrial city, port city, and airport city, and these cities will be linked through high-speed railway.
인구는 40만이고
This is a very compact city, 1.2 kilometers radius and population of 400,000. So this will house a population of 2 million, and compared to Techno Valley, it will produce 1,000 trillion won of GDP every year. So if there are cities that can create so much economic benefits and 2 million people living here, who could dare to break the peace in this area? By proposing this city, well, I've had a chance to share my opinion in a newspaper recently, and I have described it as the biggest hostage situation in the human history. So these 4 million people will be sort of like hostage, and also a city that creates 1,000 trillion won. So this money and the population would be the hostage, so nobody would dare to break the peace in the area. So I have about a minute left. So South Korea is going to be the city of K-pop. We need to leverage the asset. North Korea can have medical tourism city. North Korea has an special economic zone, but it is not so popular. So China can have a Confucius city. China has great economic and military power these days, and they want to show that off. But I think the real strength of China is from Confucianism.
도시를 한번 제안을 해보.
And the US can have a financial hub city in Northeast Asia. So I will show you a video.
자, 이것으로 발표를 마치도록 하겠습니다.
This is the end of my presentation.
저 앞에 네, 이상현 교수님
So please give a big round of applause to Professor Lee Sang-hyun. Even though you cannot see, there is a timer right in front of me, so everybody's quite nervous And it would have been nice if we did not have the timer right in our face. Next, designer Lee Ji-un from Space Group will be making the presentation. So I would like to advise you to use your microphone.
Hello, everyone.
네, 데이터 클라우드
The title of my presentation is Data Cloud Campus. My name is Jin Woo Lee. I'm going to give a presentation on building financial hub. Peace City, you know that Sumer civilization, it built the first peace city. And in order to manage more than 10,000 population, a city was created around a temple called Ziggurat, and finance was needed to manage the goods of the 10,000 people. What are the major characteristics of the current financial hub around the world right now? As you can see here, telecommunication network is well built. Infrastructure is really well built. Even though you don't know the other people, still you trust each other and then you live together. In order to live together with these people, contract is extremely important. So, in order to build financial hub, we need to build a city where data is safely managed. So companies around the world are investing heavily in data-related fields. According to the experts, the size of the global data sphere is expected to reach 175 zettabyte by 2025. If you look at this slide, you can see that within 3 years, the data scale is likely to be more than double. It will be around 6 billion gigabytes. In a city, data is extremely important. Systematic data management is critical. If you look at Korean Kakao data center, by 2023, it is said that 6 exabyte size will be built. Well, 6 exabyte, the exabyte unit you will not be familiar with. And Daum Kakao Center, the data center, well, you need around 30,000 units of the data center. And Google or Amazon or other large conglomerates, they have much bigger size of the data center. About 40% of data centers are now located in the United States. How the data center affects the cities? Well, the effect could be, first of all, the city can be operated in a very efficient way. Let me give you an example of the autonomous vehicle. With the changes in urban structure due to the development of means of transportation and also the rapid technological development, we need to come up with ways to induce changes in the cities. Hotnox said that the best way to possess the financial resources are the underground data center. And we understand the importance of the data center. We need to use water underground to keep your data safely. Just like the Port Knox. And we have seen the video clip. This is the last image. North Korea, China, and South Korea, this city will be located in the borderline. And 2 billion population reside within 2-hour flight. This is the best place to build data center. And also 6 countries, United States and Russia, can get access here. On the left, there's a Tumen River. On the right side, East Sea flows. So you can use the water. And also it's located in Russia. So where the borders of 3 countries meet and the 2 population lives. And during the biology class, you might heard and learn about the cell and mitochondria develop, ribosomes and lysosome have their own roles to play, right? So that's how the cell is created. Remember, this could be the data. One cell will be gathered, and as we accumulate cell, definitely we can build a heart, and when heart and other body organs gather together, and then the blood will flow, circulatory system will work, and then one living organism can be built. And just like how the cell is built, how our body organs is built, how the living things come into being, the data center can be built in a city. And then when there are other facilities like the culture programs or the other facilities, then definitely we can build one city. And here, this data center can play the role of the landmark. The data will be collected, and then they will play important role. And about 20 to 30 stories of the buildings will be built here. And they will play a great assistant role to this city. And this will be a place where people will spend time, and also there will be residential area, a house or apartment buildings. And just like a village in Venice, they will use waterway, and then the waterway will be flowing here, and then it will surround the city. This is another image that we have taken, and you can definitely approach here whenever you want, commercial sector or business sector or the residential sector, data center and financial center will be the landmark, and you can see from anywhere, anytime. Last but not least, this is another plan, and around the data center, you can see that office building will be built on the first floor. Schools and also their business, commercial sectors will be built underground. All kinds of infrastructures and the data warehouse will be located, and waterway, the roadway, and also the waste management, telecommunication network will all be hidden underground. So the most high-tech and updated technology will be working underground, and the facilities such as park or working spaces or cultural spaces will be located on ground so that people can enjoy their lives. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
네,
Thank you. Jeju Forum is one of the largest international forum to be held in Korea. And in this forum, we have very young people participating, so they might be quite nervous. Please give them a big round of applause to boost their morale. And we have a slightly older young man, Mr. Park Jung-yeon from Grade A Architecture will talk about the dream city for North Korea. Good morning. Let us talk about medical tourism city to be created in North Korea. My name is Park Jung-yeon from Grade A Architectural Office. To young MZ generation, they have experienced a lot of difficulties during the pandemic. They could not travel overseas. Well, sometimes they created their own culture for vacation called hotel, hokangs, meaning hotel vacation. But I would like to attach hospital there, so it's hospital vacation. So if we can create a medical tourism city in North Korea, what would it be like? Pandemic has changed a lot of things for the world. It has fundamentally changed our living environment. In the past, weapons used to be the symbol of power, but in the future, safety, health, medical, pharmaceutical industries could be the source of one's power, and they will contribute to the peace in the world. An R&D center and production center for vaccine cannot be built overnight. They require long-term commitment and continued efforts. And if North Korean medical tourist city can be the hub for R&D and production of vaccines, that would be really great. And this will pave the way for global peace, for sure. Next, as our society becomes aged and more elderly people would need treatment for diseases like cancer. This medical tourism city has wonderful natural environment. So if you're staying at a hospital for vacation, you can benefit from the most advanced medical facility and the beautiful natural environment, and also get to travel adjacent cities. Does North Korea have capable medical staff? Well, it's going to be multinational medical staff collaborating together to offer the best-in-class medical treatment. Next, for aesthetics, plastic surgery, North Korea could offer such services in its medical tourism city. Of course, when you go through such surgery, you would need some time for recovery. So while you're recuperating from the surgery, you can get to enjoy the wonderful environment and content offered in the adjacent environment. And for another outbreak of infectious disease like COVID-19, we would need isolation or quarantine facility and also intensive care facility as well. If we can have that in advance, whenever there is another outbreak of infectious illness, we would be much better equipped to deal with the new challenges and able to accommodate the patients much more efficiently. Therefore, the concept of this city is medical plus recovery plus healing, where you can enjoy hospital vacation. This is the overall layout of the city. At the center would be high-rise building where the intensive treatment and care will be provided. And around that medical centers, there will be highly efficient and luxurious residential areas where patients can recover from their treatment. And for vaccine R&D centers, there will be towards the outskirts of the city. And as for the beautiful environment, we have created this beautiful environment in an area that links North Korea with China. And this is going to be connected to 5 cities. From the left estuary area, this will be connected to the airport. Well, there's one person I would really want to hear my presentation. He is Chairman Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I think he's going to be the key leader for those 5 cities. So if he can give us a green light to this project, I would love to put this urban planning and layout into practice. So I really want Chairman Kim Jong-un to have a chance to listen to my presentation. As an architect, I had a dream, and that is to build beautiful architectural piece in North Korea. Now, we have already drawn the layout and design of that building. So the 5 cities will be connected, offering abundant and diverse content. Tumen River and the nearby cities will be urbanized in a way that harmonizes with the natural environment, where people can enjoy hokangs or hospital vacation. This is the overall layout of the cities. This is the urban landscape. Highly dense, high-rise medical centers located at the center, surrounded by facilities for healing and recuperation. And farther you go out to the outskirts, there will be accommodation or residential areas for healthcare workers or supporters. Various urban landscape, and towards the bottom there will be the R&D centers or cultural complexes for the city. And towards the outskirts of the city, the density will become lower and it will be mainly residential area. So one day, if we can have a city where we can enjoy hospital vacation, that would be really lovely. Thank you for your attention. The speakers are very humble and polite. And Chairman Kim Jong-un, well, the speaker has referred to him in a very polite manner using his official title. And if Chairman Kim Jong-un can be interested in these wonderful projects, that would be really great. So who's next? K-pop, K-culture, K-street culture is the theme for the next presenter, who is the youngest presenter for today, architect Choi Soo-young from Soo-young Atelier.
네, 안녕하세요.
Good morning, everyone. My presentation will be about Tumen River, United Nations City, K-Culture Street City. My name is Soo-young Choi. 100 years ago, there is a person who dreamed about building the cultural city. That person is An Jung-gun. The spirit of An Jung-gun is handed down, and we'd like to ensure peace in this area. First, I'd like to show you 3 photos. This is the Pukchon streets of Seoul, and also Chimsachui Street of Hong Kong, and Champs-Élysées of Paris. These 3 cities are the most representative places, and people remember this venue for a long time. So, streets of the city representing these 3 places, they definitely provide some differentiations, and also these cities maintain its own cultural characteristic as their own identity. Then, how or what does the city of culture and art give us? And I wanted to give quotations of the American for the Arts. Let me quote, "Art is the foundations of the social development and is driving force for academic achievements and industrial development. And also it can help local business through art, foster creative talents. Ultimately, art revitalize various communities and become the basis of creative industries. East Asian peace is a state in which each country is independent, according to An Jung-gun, and also the independence of many East Asian countries can play as a coordinator role." And let's look at the city of the ancient Greek cities and Roman city. You can see there are red marked area, a street where people and cultures are concentrated. And this place is the streets. It's an art gallery displaying the various cultures of the city. So it's agora, or it's a place where everyone gathered together. It vitalized the city, and also the culture can be created here. In the story of Tumen City, utilizing South Korean financial resources, if we can build the cultural city here, definitely it can work as a K-culture city in East Asian city. And if we can definitely embed the K-culture here, I'd like to propose a horizontal city. So, horizontal city can be divided into 4 program presentation. So, first of all, a K-pop block will be located at the center where the concert halls will be built or exhibition hall or other music school will be located, and also K-drama or K-movie sector where the broadcast stations, film production complex can locate, and also there could be the e-sport or webtoon sector. Last but not least, housing will be another sector. These blocks are not separated, but green space will be connecting these 4 sectors in a horizontal way, and the tram circling the blocks around the mountain boundaries of the city center. So wherever you are or whoever you are, you can ride a tram and go everywhere. And also there's a green plaza formed around the waterfront space. This is the key culture street city, and if you look at here, there is a Pampo lake, and on the right column there is a Tumen river. So located between Tumen river and also Sabampo or the mountains that run through the center of the city will just turn out to be like a Manhattan city. Next, I'd like to share with you each street block. This is the K-pop block. It's a place where a lot of people will be gathering together, just like a Korean sports complex. Large and medium-sized theater will be located within this K-pop block, and also a large green park will be built. Second, high-story or skyscrapers can be built here, comprising the K-movie block. Broadcasting stations, film studios, film set, studio cube will be located here, just like a Hollywood street in the United States. The third block, we could think about the green link or the greenery link. So the greenery will be built passing through the horizontal blocks, and then we can host a very small size concert or diverse kinds of activities. Last but not least, Sabampo Lagoon will be located here on the left, and the city is surrounded by the lagoons. This is a place where an open space and all kinds of performance can be presented here. CEO Kim has already talked about it, but there is a hard power and soft power. But instead of thinking about a building or concrete things, we'd like to build a soft block where people gather together. And K-pop, K-culture, or culture elements can be embedded and accumulated. When that happens, the K-culture city itself can ensure peace on the Korean Peninsula. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
So I think he had the prettiest picture in pastel colors. And probably for senior speakers, he has been nice enough to leave 2 minutes for us. And last speaker is Professor Park Geun-song from Changwon National University. We'll talk about Confucius City for China.
네, 안녕하십니까. 저는
Hello, good morning. Today I'll talk about Confucius City to be built in China. I'm Park Geun-song from Changwon National University. So in Tumen International Joint City, I thought about what would represent China most effectively. And to me, the common theme that can represent the Northeast Asian region would be the culture, and not the contemporary culture, but the Confucius culture that has had significant impact in Northeast Asian region. National peace and regional peace can be promoted by a combination of various factors, and industry, culture, military power could be the points in case. And culture seems to be the softest and the easiest accessible element. In the United States, they have financial industry leading the world, and they also have soft power such as Hollywood, cultural force. And same thing with Japan. Of course, it has declined slightly these days, but Japan used to be the electronic powerhouse in the world with excellent technology. And Japan also has Zen Buddhism culture. Then, what would be the common thread that can cut across Northeast Asia? So what would be the cultural factors? And since this is a site located in China, I thought that Confucianism, Confucius culture, would be the strongest theme that we can delve into. Confucius culture originated BC 500 by a person named Confucius, who was born in the Chinese city of Chufu. And Confucius was a very active scholar, and he had influence in North Korea, China, in India, Japan, South Korea. So this entire area has been designated as Confucius cultural areas, and that cultural legacy still lives on to this day. And Chong Dynasty was when the Confucius culture was in its peak. It has declined slightly, but it is still influential in North Korea, South Korea, and Japan. Chong Dynasty is when Confucius culture thrived, but it was later transformed into Republic of China and then later People's Republic of China. So in this transition, there has been some lack of respect or consideration for culture. So cultural elements have weakened throughout this transition. In this geographical hub of Northeast Asia, what would be the common theme for Northeast Asia? So I thought that building a Confucius hub in this area could be very relevant. Before we talk about this Confucius city, I would like to introduce you to an architect named Kim Seok-chul. He is the architectural master of South Korea, and he was a very active architect and he has been taught by the first generation architect in Korea, such as Kim Jung-up and Kim Soo-gun. And before he passed away, he has been deeply engaged in a national project called Hopeful South Korean Peninsula. And he has designed a Chufu new town project. Chufu is a city where Confucius was born. And China had Zulu Kogonggi, which is an ancient book, and extraction of this book has been applied to building this city. Changhan province, which is known as a Xi'an city these days, was built with the technologies learned from Zulu Kaogongji. So if you break into this Kyufu new town, you will identify various technologies, and that one of that would be having the symmetrical space based on the urban axis and Confucius cultural facility, waterway, water cities, and tower style architecture. This is the city that I would like to propose. It has the traditional architectural element and some modern urban elements designed to reduce carbon footprint by building a very compact city. And this is the urban structure. There is the mountain in the back and Tumen River flowing in front. So this is a typical mountain in the back and the water in the front landscape. And we will be building the Confucius Cultural Facility around here, surrounded by plaza. And on the two sides, we are going to be building symmetrical tower-style architecture, which can be used for commercial facility. And there will be waterway flowing in between. And this will be surrounded by castle walls. And people can have access through the waterway and pedestrian road. This is the typical mountain in the back and water in the front skyscape. This is waterway, tower, garden, another tower, and castle wall. This is my last page. This is the open space, which is located at the center of the layout. And this is going to be a space where various performances and events will be held for Confucius culture. Thank you very much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen.
네. 마지막
Last but not least, I would like to thank Professor Park. And we would like to make some arrangements to the seating so that we can have discussants on the stage. And I would like to ask the speakers to return to the seats in the front.
토론자분 앞으로 모시겠습니다.
The discussants, please come up to the stage.
우리 청년 발표자들이
The speakers have saved a lot of time for us. Probably it was out of consideration for the elderly discussants. So discussants are on the stage, and as you can see, they're definitely older than the previous round of speakers. So this is actually what we are imagining, trying to narrow the gap between different generations. So we wanted to represent all generations here on the stage. So the young architects have shared their vision and dreams about how we can freely travel to North Korea. They shared their bold and brave imagination, creativity. So I would like to ask you to once again give a big round of applause to the four speakers. And now the discussants from an elder generation. The first speaker or the discussant is Executive Director Im Gang-taek from Korea Economic Cooperation Institute.
안녕하십니까.
Hello, I'm Im Gang-taek. I have studied North Korean economy for 3 decades, and I have been engaged in various national policy projects. And recently, I have been thinking about what is it that have I studied, and is it really practical? I have become quite skeptical about the practicality of studying North Korean economy because we are seeing so many issues, but it's almost impossible to come up with any kind of resolution for those issues. I have felt quite incompetent and somewhat useless in that regard. Well, there are various issues or reasons at play that are beyond our control. And just, several researchers or experts cannot resolve these issues by themselves. And it takes more than just one state or country to resolve this because many elements or factors are complicatedly intertwined. So how can we find a resolution? Is there such a thing as a resolution? One thing that I'm very sure of now is that we cannot find a resolution using the same approach that we've had in the past. We need to have a new approach to have a slightest chance of finding a resolution. So in that regard, the presentations made today have been so inspiring to me. And the current administration has come out with this catchphrase, bold initiative, when it comes to North Korea. But unfortunately, North Korea is not responding favorably to this bold initiative. And I think some of the projects that are shared today should be parts and parcels of this bold initiative. We need to have unprecedented approach to North Korea to mobilize them. And we really need the new and bold initiatives and creative ideas. Many important countries like China, the US, Japan, South Korea, if they can work together with North Korea to pave the way for peace and prosperity, that could be most ideal. And I think in that regard, we've had the best speakers and the best presentations. And if the younger generation and older generation can collaborate, I think that would be a wonderful opportunity for all of us. Then what's next? Is this really feasible? Is this really valid? Of course, the ideas are creative, innovative, but can we really realize this? I'm running out of time, so I need to wrap up. Of course, there is the potential. China, North Korea, Russia, they are all keenly interested in developing this area. They have a lot of strategic interest riding in this area, and if we can develop this area in connection with the economic growth strategies of neighboring countries, it is highly attractive and highly competitive. But putting that into practice is going to be the most challenging part. To put this into practice, South Korea cannot pull this off alone. There are other stakeholders and experts from these various countries need to get together, seeking solutions and collaboration mechanism. And I hope we can have this kind of meeting, preferably in Vladivostok or with Russia, China, Japanese experts, and also American experts and experts from international institutions joining the discussion. So it would be wonderful if we can continue to expand and evolve this kind of discussion. Thank you. Well, yeah, we'll make sure we can go to Vladivostok at the end of this year. Next, Mr. Chun Woo-young, President of Korean Institute of Architects.
Can you hear me? Thank you. Well, I don't have much time, and I have already submitted my text. So I'd like to make my comment very briefly. I guess the presentation was very interesting, and it could be one of the best way to induce peace on the Korean Peninsula. Especially young architect has expressed how they can build the special city using culture or other things, and that was quite interesting and inspiring as well. However, as you mentioned, and also executive director has mentioned already, can we really make it into practice? In order to do that, who can become the major players? There should be population, financial resources, and also the businesses, especially the future business must be built there. And how can we deploy that? And also with the existing cities, how can we connect that with the new cities, especially the newly built city around Tumen River estuary will be quite far away from South Korea, but it also has a great advantages because it's closely located to Russia and China. We need to make sure that the city operates properly in a very cyclical way, but should we build as a linear way or how should we build it? So there are a lot of questions and we need to ponder upon many issues. We need to overcome any hassles. We need to come up with a way. Unlike the existing solutions, we need to find the new solutions. What could be the best way? And I'd like to share with you two cases. The first case is, that micronation, a very small liberand that was designed by Zahat architect, and Croatia and Serbia, that they have conflict on and around 7 kilometers, they regard that these sectors are not their own territory. So Czech Republic, one of the political circle leader, has designated this as a separate independent nation. And it's quite distributed and it's open system, and through that, basically, a new city can be built in a very eco-friendly way. So new visions are presented nowadays. So more distributed new organisms or organizations can be definitely built. So the 6 nations around Tumen estuary, we can come up with a new international city and we can find the best way to implement that. Another comment is, that there is 170 kilometer length of a city, a linear city, to be built by Saudi Arabia, and they are connecting everything, all the resources, and they plan to connect the city all the way to Egypt. And it's very condensed city. This is, in a way, very outrageous city, but 500-meter height and 200-meter width, and within 5 minutes, they can do anything within this city, just using elevator, just using within the walking distance, everything can be possible. So with such a drastic plan, we can build a future city where all the industries and the government can work together. And when everything's are built together, a new possibility can be open and also a peace can be induced. So instead of having a very divided one, we can give more economic benefit to North Korea. At the same time, we can induce them to participate in this new future city, which will open a new era of potentials and possibilities. And taking this opportunity, I'd like to express my gratitude to the organizer of this session, the Korea Peace Economy Forum, and not only the architect, but also people from different sectors can join together, and we can definitely open a new possibility. That concludes my point. Thank you.
Next, we would like to invite President Seok Jung-hoon from Korea Institute of Registered Architects.
Well, upon listening the presentation by different speakers, especially the young architect, their innovative and fresh ideas, it gave me a new thought. Well, will North Korea be able to choose this option? At the estuary of Tumen River, we can build a multinational city. We can even build economic miracle and then spread these achievements coming from the economic miracle throughout North Korea. So such a outstanding and drastic multinational, international joint city constructions, we can definitely do that. It will present the potentials of South and North Korea. Well, when I heard the presentation by the new architect, one of the points that resounded to me was in this area, more than 2 billion people reside, and also within 2-hour flight, everyone can travel around. And I thought that this could be too idealistic concept, but upon listening the presentation, I realized that this is actually actionable. And the theme of today's forum is beyond conflict toward peace, coexistence, and cooperation. Especially, we are focusing very much on the peace and coexistence on the Korean Peninsula attempted in the realm of life. And we need to shed a new light on this area and thinking that we need to think about what are the issues that we are faced with. Is it only political issues, or can we totally separate those political issues and think about our daily lives? In North Korea, there is an organization called Architect Society in North Korea. When I was in my 20s, I have also met with the head of the Architect Society of North Korea and also working as the head of Korea Institute of the Registered Architect. I have also invited them. And 2 weeks ago, right here at ICC, we had our Congress and I took part in another meeting held in Mongolia. One of the themes that we have addressed is the Registered Architect of North Korea. A couple of years ago, together with the Korea Institute of the Registered Architect and also together with the Asia Institute of Registered Architect, we have also formed a special alliance, but no activities have been achieved so far. Frankly speaking, we talk about the realm of our life, but also we cannot totally segregate from the political issues. And we need to find ways how we can overcome the political agendas. And I believe the best way is we need to go beyond the political circle, and then we need to think about the economic benefit. And how can we do that? We can present the economic benefit. And I believe development of the Tumen River can be the best way, and we need to come up with a consensus about that. Today, when I was invited to work as discussant, I couldn't come up with a great idea, but upon listening the presentation, a couple of ideas popped up, and I wanted to make sure that my points are delivered. We talk about North Korea, Russia, South Korea, and also China, United States. So a total of 5 countries are mentioned as the player in building the Tumen Estuary International Joint City. Of course, what we're talking about could be just one proposal, but definitely we can come up with more options. But one thing that is regrettable is that compared to other countries, North Korean infrastructure is really inferior and is building 5 cities separately. Will that be appropriate? Or what about those 5 countries join hands together, build one international joint city? And of course, each nation has its own solutions, but what if there's a cutthroat competition which can result in another side effect? Not only that, North Korea, its inferior infrastructure heavily will determine the survival of its own nations. So Instead of having competition based on the communication and also pursuing mutual prosperity, we need to come up with a solution. And also, when every country is gathered, am I talking too long? No, it's okay. You can continue. I'm sorry, just one more minute, sorry. So many countries are gathered here together, so they all pursue their own interest, but the political ideology or their customs, we need to make sure that they are recognized, they are respected and be maintained. So in a symbolic way, we need to sign contract or a treaty. And of course, eco-friendly or smart city constructions or metaverse or sort of the state-of-art mechanism must be built here again. But once again, the most important thing is that North Korea should be at the center of these plan, and North Korea should take initiative in carrying out this plan. Only then we can truly successfully implement this plan. And we shouldn't just stop here. But all the people working in the architecture need to work together to realize that. And we have different society, right? Architecture Institute, or also there are registered architect institute, but also we have in Korea, but also in other countries. We all need to work together. And we presented K-architect during our Congress. Of course, K-pop or K-culture were also mentioned during the presentation, but what about K-architect? K-architect need to advance into the global communities. That's my last comment. I apologize for talking too long. Well, we are gathered by young architect, and it's okay that you have more time to speak.
아마 보시면
And last but not least, well, you have seen the smart ideas for new architecture, and we have Vice President Ang Kyung-hoon from Korea Peace Economy Forum, and he is the founder of YAP.
제가 처음에
4 years ago, I've had a chance to talk about building a smart city in Tumen River Basin. And Tumen River cuts across Pyongyang, just like Han River cuts across Seoul. And in Tumen River, there is a island called Jeju Island, which is the size of Yeouido Island. So some people came up with the idea of building a smart city on Jeju Island. And last year, I have met with Professor Lee Sang-hyun, and Professor Lee Sang-hyun came up with the idea of building an international joint city in Tumen River Basin. Well, I thought they were just initial ideas, but they are now evolving into social agenda. And I would like to thank Executive Director Kim Il-yong and Professor Lee Sang-hyun, the 4 young architects. My respect goes out to you. Well, I think future is the outcome of our imagination, something that we create as we go along. History has been the outcome of all the thoughts that people had. Like, we did not have high-rise buildings or airplanes in the past. They started from some of the bright ideas. And I believe our future history will be written based on what kind of ideas that we have now. These days, we talk about smart cities everywhere. China, the US, Seoul, Sejong, Busan, they're all creating their own smart cities. And smart cities are now becoming a part of our reality. So in 10 or 20 years from now, everybody will be living in smart cities. So this is going to be a very obvious change. Then, why are we saying we need to create an international joint city in Tumen River, in the border area between North Korea and China? Well, first, all the strong powers, Russia, China, Japan, the US, they are all keenly interested in this Tumen River Basin area. And this also is an area of geographical significance in inter-Korean relations. And this area is like a piece of blank paper. So it's a great place for a great artist to draw the picture he or she wants. Because if there had been anything built in that area, we need to demolish them. But there is nothing built in this area. So because of the three issues, three reasons, we believe international joint city is the most logical conclusion for this area. The key of this city is that the infrastructure underneath will be smart infrastructure, including smart green. Smart grid, it should be green and digital city. And health, transportation, logistics, safety, finance, big data, all of that will be realized and communicated through smart grid. And green should be the theme. And this is an idea that I have discussed with Executive Director Kim Il-young, but I haven't shared it publicly yet. But in order to enter this city, you would need its currency. The integrated currency used in this city would be stronger than any other individual currency, and everything will be enabled through smart grid. That's just a personal idea that I have now. And this city could be a best practice case that can be spread around the world. And international joint city, I hope, will be built in more places around the world for peace and coexistence. So I think that should be the philosophy or theme that we should strive for, resulting in peaceful coexistence for the mankind. So I believe belief is an invisible reality. It's one of my favorite quotes. Once we build our confidence in our thought, then belief can be a reality, but it can be an invisible reality. So it is not visible now, but the belief and conviction that we now have will be a reality. So this international joint city, I hope, will continuously be evolved and upgraded. So if we can't pull this off in our generation, we'll pass it on to the next generation to make this city come true. Thank you very much.
그 제주
Whenever I come to Jeju, I see many beautiful buildings and houses and also other architect. Well, I believe that today is a very special session because we are joined by so many designers and also architect and registered architect. We should have invited many participants, but Mr. Hong Jun-ho, do you have a question? If you do, please make sure to deliver your questions to Mr. Hong Jun-ho, and he will deliver to us so that we can give answers back to you. Before I open the floor, I'd like to make sure once again that if you have any specific questions, then Executive Director Im Gang-taek would like to say a few more words. So I'm giving 1 more minute to Mr. Im Gang-taek.
저한테
Well, I was given 5 minutes last time, so I had to skip through a lot of my points. Feasibility. Well, in order to boost your confidence, let me make this point. In 2019, in Vladivostok, there was a Northeast Asia Trans-Border Cooperation Forum held, and in the forum, one Russian expert came up with a very interesting and relevant idea. And his presentation was that in Northeast Asia, there's a lot of financial power, science, and technology capabilities, and a lot of natural resources. Russia and North Korea and China has this, and along with human resources from North Korea and China and huge territory. So there is a duplication of countries with different sets of assets and competitiveness. Hasan, Najin, these are the areas that are deemed to have high potential for cooperation and exchange. Even Russian experts are paying attention to the great potential this region has. And I think such projects needs strong support from countries and governments. And as for now, South Korea and Russia seems to be the most biggest stronger supporters for these projects. Thank you very much. And also Professor Lee Sang-hyun, he has a certain point to add.
Thank you very much for the discussions. And I will make sure that we strive to achieve greater development. Yes, the idea is great, but can we really put them into practice? I just would like to change your way of thinking. This international joint city construction might think that it's gigantic, but only 200 trillion won is acquired. It might sound astronomical amount, but we can definitely achieve that. Every 10 or 15 years, the housing prices skyrocketed and plummeted. Why? It's not because of the short of supply, but because we have enough money on our pockets. We have more money than actually what our lives require. Just look at Republic of Korea. In 10 to 15 years, we will have 200 trillion won. And we might not be able to have enough places to spend our money. So make sure to invest your money for this international joint city construction. So that was my additional comment. Thank you.
One more. So one last question, please go ahead. Thank you. I would like to make a proposal. I'm Song Il-young from the Oleg Architect Office, and I am researcher of Jeju villages. And I would like to make a small proposal for the Tumen River International Joint City. The great King Sejong, during his reign, about 800 Jeju Islanders were forced to go to North Korea because they have been sent there as a part of punishment because they were accused of being horse thieves. So 800 people from Jeju Island moved to North Korea. And I have a dream of studying the village that these 800 islanders have created around Tumen River. So I think that village that they have created a long time ago could be a cornerstone. So we have about 40 seconds remaining, and You can ask that question or make a proposal to the Jeju provincial government. And we really have to wrap up because we are really running out of time. And the demarcation line that is drawn in our heart, if we can transcend that, a lot of new possibilities will be created. I think the media these days is trying to promote competition between different generations. But if we can find a way to overcome such divide through peace and prosperity, that would also be great for all of us. I would like to thank everyone and the Jeju Metropolitan Government for organizing such a wonderful forum
그럼
today.
이것으로
Thank you.
세션을 마치겠습니다.